waits, learning God's timing over immediate pleasure. The candlelight in Maria's small bedroom flickered gently as she closed her Bible, whispering a prayer that had become familiar over the years. Lord, teach me to wait. She was 24 now. While others in her church shared photos of engagements and newborns, Maria's path was quiet, simple, and at times lonely. But there was a peace in her solitude, a serenity that didn't come from the absence of desire, but from the presence of trust. From a young age, Maria had wrestled with her heart. She longed to be seen, to be held, to be chosen. In high school, she'd watched her friends drift into relationships with passion that flared bright but burned fast. They would come to her crying, whispering, "I thought it was love." And Maria would hold them, listen, and pray silently. What she didn't know then was that those moments were sowing seeds in her spirit, seeds that would grow into a conviction. True love waits, not because it's afraid, but because it believes in something eternal. In a world addicted to immediacy, where pleasure is marketed as fulfillment and speed is mistaken for significance, waiting has become radical. But Maria had learned to hear the whisper behind the noise, and it came from a different kingdom. One summer evening, she sat by the window, watching the golden hour bathe the city in grace. Her journal lay open, and on it, she wrote, "Love is patient, not because it is weak, but because it is rooted in eternity." Those words weren't just poetic, they were battle-tested. At 21, Maria had met Daniel. He was kind, funny, and attentive. Their connection felt divinely orchestrated. But as months passed, Daniel began to press into physical boundaries she had firmly placed. "If you love me, why not now?" he asked one evening. Maria remembered the silence that followed. It was sacred, not because it was comfortable, but because it was honest. Because love doesn't demand, it trusts. "And if this is real, it will endure the wait," she finally said, tears brimming but voice steady. Daniel left a month later, and with him the dream Maria had built quietly in her heart. She grieved. Oh, she grieved. Not just for the boy, but for the illusion. For the lie that love always arrives wrapped in romance and ease. But God met her in the grief. In worship, she discovered healing. Her prayers became deeper, not more desperate. She didn't plead anymore. She communed. And somewhere in the stillness, she heard a whisper. "You are not waiting alone. I wait with you." It was in Scripture that her soul anchored. She read about Jacob, who worked 7 years for Rachel, and then 7 more. And yet it felt like days because of love. Genesis 29:20. She remembered Ruth, who stayed when she could have run, who followed Naomi into obscurity and pain, only to be found by Boaz in the fields of favor. She remembered Mary, who bore the Son of God, not through desire but surrender. Love, she saw, was not an event. It was a process, holy and sometimes hidden. One night during worship, something shifted. Maria stood with hands lifted, surrounded by voices singing, "Though I wait, I will trust you, Lord." Tears streamed down her cheeks, not of longing, but of release. She realized the wait was not a punishment. It was preparation. She wasn't withholding her heart. She was being held. Years passed. Maria still didn't have a ring on her finger, but she had something many don't. A love story being written by hands far wiser than hers. Then, at a quiet prayer retreat, she met Elijah. He wasn't flashy. He didn't arrive with roses or rehearsed lines. But his eyes met hers with honor, and his first words to her were, "Tell me what the Lord's been teaching you." They talked for hours, not about favorite colors, but about convictions, not about attraction, but about purpose. There was no rush, no pressure, just peace. In time, they walked together, not into passion, but into calling. Their love grew slowly and sacredly. And on the night Elijah proposed, he whispered, "You were worth the wait." Maria smiled, tears falling, and whispered back, "So were you." Their wedding wasn't extravagant, but their vows echoed like thunder. "I choose to love you in God's timing, with God's strength, for God's glory." And in that holy moment, Maria finally understood. True love waits, not because it lacks desire, but because it is led by a deeper fire, one lit by eternity. Scripture. Inspirations. Genesis 29:20. So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Isaiah 40:31. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Lamentations 3:25. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. Closing reflection. In a world shouting now, God often whispers, "Wait," not to torture us, but to transform us, to root us in love that doesn't just burn, but endures. Because what is born of God always comes in his time, and it is always worth the wait.